This is Gadget Stop 321, and I'm back with my two fountain pens and my Hobonichi A6 Techo. This is the second half of 2019. It's the second half of the Avec, so I like this size. It's half of a year. It's just a really nice size journal to use. This is my journal slash Bible study notes slash, whatever I want to write in here on any given day. And my two pens I'm still using my Sailor Pro Gear Slim with a fine nib. It's got Sailor Black ink cartridge in it. And my, I ran out of ink in my Pilot Prera Stub, 1.0 Stub, and I'm replacing it with my Jinhao X750 that's got a Nemesign 0.6 stub in it. Now, the Prera is a pretty crisp as far as stub nibs go. I'll let you take a look over here. I had both of these inked up with Lamy Dark Lilac, and so with the Prera stub, I don't know if you'll be able to tell on camera, but it looks a lot more purple. It puts down just the right amount of ink. It's fairly crisp as far as stub nibs go, and but it's still a stub nib, so the the edges of the nib are rounded, so you don't, get that scratchiness from the sharp edges digging into the paper. It's just a really smooth, nice stub nib that is fairly close to being an italic nib. But my Nemesign 0.6 writes a lot wetter, so the ink looks almost black, and look at that sheen. You're putting down a lot more ink, so if your ink has a sheening characteristic to it, you're going to see it a lot more. And this is much more rounded. There's like the nib, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I've done a video where I compared these two stub nibs, and it's not straight at all across. It's just perfectly rounded. Again, there's no tipping material, just like on the Prera. There's no tipping material, but it's much more rounded, and this is more like writing with a medium nib, except your writing will just look a little, I know, in my opinion, nicer. It looks neater. It's not as much like writing with a magic marker. There's more of, it's like writing with a chisel tip. So I just like the way it looks. But this is a lot wetter, so we'll see how it looks once we put the fine print on there. Let's see. I've got some stuff that I was going to add to my notes. I'll zoom in so you can see how this writes. You can see some show through from the previous page on this Tomoe River paper that you have in Hobonichi's, but to me it's not distracting. Okay, so this Jinhao with the Nimacine nib is much wetter than the Pereira. Now I'm going to write my list with my Sailor Pro Gear Slim. And I really enjoy this pen with using this pen with the small boxes on my Hobonichi. I think I'm getting offline. Difficult to write and film at the same time. I got offline up here. Now, something I've noticed, occasionally my printing's getting a little, I don't know the correct word to use for this, but I guess it's getting a little more broad, just occasionally on some letters. And what I think I have going on here is I've got some paper fibers in my nib, and when they get just the right position, it tends to smear the ink. And I had that problem in my E95S, which is also a fine nib, and that's a problem that comes up whenever you use really fine nibs. They tend to catch on paper fibers and get wedged up in the nib, and occasionally you have to floss the nib. I really need to invest in some brass sheets. The last time the issue came up with my E95S, the tines in that pen are not as close together, so I just used some aluminum foil. I may try that with this one. If I do, I'll make a video of it and actually show if it works or not. But the thing with brass sheets are, the only place you can get like a little tiny amount is that I'm aware of is Goulet pens, and the shipping costs as much as the brass sheets. So the next time I order something from Goulet pens, I'm going to have them throw in some brass sheets. But that's the start of my notes today, and you see how I like to use a broader nib for my headers and a fine nib for the actual notes. Just keeps everything separated. And I'm about to run out of ink in this Jinhao, so I'll probably be changing colors. It's just a fun way to play with your inks and do something productive at the same time. So if you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel.